Welcome to Real Marketing University with David Collins, a podcast series designed exclusively for real estate agents who are ready to level up their practice and become the go-to neighborhood expert. Today's episode is brought to you by the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing, the premier independent training authority for real estate agents working in the luxury residential market. Go to luxuryhomemarketing.com to learn more, including how you can earn your CLHMS designation, recognized around the globe as the gold standard in luxury designation. Without further ado, here's your host, David Collins.
Good afternoon or good morning or good evening, wherever it is or whenever you are listening to this last podcast in our series at Real Marketing University. Today, I really want to cover the most common myths and questions that we have gotten from agents over the last 30 years and give you some really good, valuable tips about those. So let's get started. Working afternoon, and again, welcome to the final podcast of Real Marketing University until we do the next series. Anyway, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. Hopefully our 30 years experience has shed some light on marketing in the real estate industry. Let's jump right into this. And one of the things that I've run across for many, many years is that digital marketing is enough. Now, if you hear the 30 years that I've been doing this in that opening, 30 years ago, there was no internet. It was literally everything was printed materials. All homeowners went to the corner real estate office and went to their local neighborhood expert and listed their home. And then the internet came out, and it started with obviously just emails and really antiquated form of internet. I remember the big bubble screens that looked like the old TVs. And what it really promised to everybody was something for nothing. And I think that if, we go back to our grandparents, something for nothing usually equals nothing. And I think the internet's been around for a good 15 years now, and I've watched agents literally stop marketing direct mail into a farm, making $250,000 a year 20 years ago, and decide just to go internet and literally be out of the business within a year. But the internet is a critical part of our business and our industry. So how do we get this balance? How do we understand how to marry both? And that's really what Toby Agency and Real Marketing have developed, is a way to marry the two. And when I say it's integral, because your homeowners are going to go to the internet to validate what you say or what they think about you. So that has to be there. It's critical. But the old expression, build it and they will come, is it's not a baseball game. It doesn't happen. Build it and then drive them to it, right? And so the internet really equals validation. Think about it. You hear something, you're driving down the freeway, and you hear some ad. And you go home and send yourself a little text message, and you go home and you check it out. What do? You go to the internet. And if you're like my wife, she goes to the internet. First thing does is she goes to reviews and things of that nature. So I think what we've really, really accomplished working with the Toby Agency, who handles all of our websites and social media, and they can do the same for you, is how do we drive business to you? And so 78% of homeowners would work with a neighborhood expert if there was one. You're not hitting 0.1% of homeowners trying to go through the internet to dominate a particular neighborhood. But you can hit every single person in that home, in that neighborhood with direct mail, and thus drive them to your website. So again, one print works pretty well. It worked long before the internet was around, but now the internet's important as well. And so I think that get with the print, send them to the internet, and then take the listing. Stop. All right, continue with myths and common misperceptions, which I didn't tell you earlier. But really, the thing I want to address here today is that direct mail is outdated and doesn't work. Most things that aren't done properly don't work. I think we all know that from life experiences. I always love to throw this analogy out, and then when I do seminars across the country and Canada, I'll ask the audience, if I send you to the store to get me something to clean my ears, what do you get? And 99% of the time, people are going to say Q-tip, which is really a brand. What they really got was a cotton swab. So how did Johnson & Johnson actually manage to change a product to their brand. Brilliant marketing and advertising. And here's how they did it. It was 8.4 contacts. They had to be within 30 days or less. And then all of a sudden, the cotton swab became a Q-tip. Many agents mail something. I'll tell you 2 points here I just love. Many agents mail something for 2 or 3 months and go, oh, this doesn't work. No, you haven't hit your 8.4 contacts yet, so it's certainly not going to work. The beauty of those agents that stick with me for a year or more is amazing, the percentage of them that are still with me going back almost 30 years. Dawn Schwartz in Meister Country Club in Boca Raton, Florida, has been with me for close to 30 years in her entire career. Single mom, just a brilliant, brilliant agent. But she stayed with it. After you get past that 8.4, the first year, all of a sudden your marketing or your success rate gets exponential. So you're spending, say, $1 and getting, in the first year, 2 listings. The second year, you're spending the same $1, but now you're getting 3 or 4 listings. So you see how that works? Then what I'm going to say to you is go to another neighborhood, start with another $1, and let's start getting more listings. I have a client in downtown San Diego that's 67 different market reports. So he dominates 67 different buildings. Stephanie Younger in Los Angeles, who does almost 25,000 pieces a month and dominates about 5 neighborhoods in Los Angeles. She did $250 million a year in business. You need an agent in LA, she's your gal. So I think that when we think about direct mail, if you look at, you can Google this, the post office, their numbers, like how many pieces were actually mailed. Now take into consideration, if you eliminate all the utility bills, so all of us used to get a utility bill in the mail. That just doesn't happen anymore. The post office is literally up in direct mail. It's really not hard. How many of you have a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon in your car? Right? How many of you shop somewhere and all of a sudden, every single month, you're getting something? Grainger's, anybody knows anything about Grainger's? You buy something from Grainger's and you're getting a catalog literally once a month, if not twice a month. They're crazy. And they wouldn't do that regularly if it didn't work, right? I mean, my wife gets these catalogs. It's just girl shopping things. I can't even remember what they are. But every month she gets the same one. And guess what? She goes there and then she goes online and orders stuff. Direct mail isn't dead. Effectiveness of it is dead if you don't do it right. But if you do it right, you'll. We mailed 880,000 market reports last month alone. An absolute insane number. So you can't tell me it doesn't work if done right. Trust me on this, what I've been doing it for 30 years, long before the internet, through the internet, and now with the internet. Make it a great day, and let's get on to the next myth and common misperception. All right, myth number 3. And I think we covered this pretty clearly in the last section, so I'm only going to give you probably 1, maybe 2 analogies on this one really quick. If you mail once, you should see results. So remember, we mail 880,000 pieces. I'm licensed, and we mail all across the U.S. and all across Canada, all the states, all the provinces involved. If I could mail once and steal all of your business, I would just change the name on the 880,000 pieces to me. And even if I wasn't licensed in that state, I wouldn't even say I was licensed. I'd be honest, and I would refer it to somebody and take 25%, be sitting on the beach in Hawaii, and you'd be working my listing or your listing. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, think about it logically. I don't think I need to expand on this any more than that. If I could mail 3 times and steal all your business, I would. Why not? But that's not the way it works. You have to be consistent. All right, let's move on to myth number 4. So a lot of times people say to me, well, I gained market share and now I don't need to market anymore. I actually only know of one person in all of the U.S. and Canada that was ever true for, and that was a guy by the name of Dave up in Calgary in Canada. And he mailed probably 6,000 pieces a month for 7 years. And he's a retired executive and decided to get in the real estate business. And by the time the 7th year came around, he had so much business from referrals and he built his personal sphere because he was doing 30 to 40 deals a year. But at the end of 7 years, do the math on that one, there's a lot of contacts right there and a lot of referral business, and was great at working it. So what we did was literally convert him from a market report about the neighborhoods and made it an agent market report. And so it encompassed all of Calgary and some of the neighborhoods, the specialty neighborhoods that it did. So we just switched it. but you don't stop. You don't stop staying in front of your clients or your past fear. So again, it's rare that an agent would actually quit. Dave was the only person I know in 30 years that actually did it. He quit the market report, but he switched to something else. So he was still staying in front of the client. Thank you. That's the end of this one. Let's move on to the next myth and common misperception. Oh, this one's a fun one for me, and that is that the quality of your photography doesn't matter in a hot market. Well, you're barking up the wrong tree with me, because I was a professional photographer in the real estate industry when I first started this company. I did everything. I shot the photographies, I designed the brochures, and I would stay up all night printing them for you. And eventually I outgrew that. I used to hang out of helicopters for 700 hours shooting properties and houses. Today we have 50 some odd employees. So I don't do it anymore. I do kind of miss it because it was a lot of fun. But what you're thinking when you think good photography isn't necessary in a hot market, you're probably absolutely right about that particular listing. Where you're dead wrong is when a neighbor comes to see that brochure or goes online and sees that brochure, you're dead in the water. And here's one of the favorite things that I teach my agents. If an agent's whipping out their iPhone and shooting pictures and they don't know what they're doing, because an iPhone's actually pretty good these days, but if you don't know what you're doing, one of the things I teach my agents is that if I'm up against you in a listing appointment, I go into your website or realtor.com and I show our potential client your photography. You're done. And I explained to them real simple. I said, okay, let's just do a fun little thing. In a listing presentation, you do this. Let's do a fun little thing. Let's go to realtor.com. I don't care. We'll go to Nashville and pull up $1 million plus homes. And then let's think you're thinking about moving there. Tell me this is not true. We click on the listing. The first thing we do is we see 4 photos. We go, which one do you want? Every single time, without exception, those people that are our potential listings pick the prettiest photo. So if you don't think photos matter, you're probably right on the listing you took. You're going to sell it. You're going to quickly, you go leave, and that's the end of your marketing, and that's the end of your referral business. It's the end of your upcoming listings. Then you send out a just sold postcard, and they go to the listing, and it's like, wow, I don't want my house photographed like that. Anyway, one of the biggest myths, of course, it's a pet peeve of mine because I made a very, very good living shooting photography, landscape photography. I've shot Phil Mickelson's house, Blink-182, Dan Marino's house. I've been flown all over the world to shoot photography. I know it's important. Let's move on to the last issue about myths and common misperceptions. All right, this one's it's a business education. What I'm going to try to teach you here is really more about business and less about real estate. And that is as the market slows, I will reduce my marketing. Wow. All right, let's just think about this, right? Logically, which it's really hard. And watch, real estate agents aren't the only one that fall into this trap. Most business people will fall into this trap, except for the really, really successful businesses. You'll see this. If Pepsi takes 3% of Coke's market share. So now Coke's market share and in revenue and profit just fell. Do you think Coke goes, oh, let's market less? No, they take out 4 ads at the Super Bowl and market more to try and regain that 3% that they lost to Pepsi. That's the obvious great move. In the real estate industry, what commonly happens, and I've been through 30 years, so I've seen 4 crashes, reduction in sales, because there's always sales. And when the market starts to slow, most agents stop marketing. The great agents increase their marketing and just wipe them right off the map. I was in a beautiful experience. I took my wife on a vacation in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico last week. And we had 4 other couples with us on this beautiful house, and they were all in the real estate industry. And one of the agents came to me, Elizabeth McQueen from Vancouver. If you have a referral in Vancouver, she's your go-to gal. She said to me, agents are dropping like flies. And in this market right now, today. And I said, I know, because they're not marketing anymore. So what happens is that you spend $1 and you made 10. Well, now you're spending $1 and you're only making 5. So what did most agents do? Like, I'm going to spend 50 cents. And guess what? Now instead of making 5, they're making $2.50. And they market themselves right out of the industry, right out of the business, completely gone. What really should happen is if you spent $1 and made 10, and now you're only making 5, and you want to make the 10, guess what you should do? spend $2. I know that sounds self-serving, but just that's a logical thing, right? If you need the $10, you don't go down to 50 cents. You go up to $2. Now, hold on. $2 versus $10 reward is still it's a 500% return, right? It's still a great return, but it's a really hard thing for any business owner to wrap their head around. This is like, oh my gosh, the market's down. The economy is slowing. Houses aren't on the market. The truth of the matter is right now, what everybody thinks the market's slowing, take a listing and watch. You're going to get insane overpriced offers because there's so little inventory. This is the greatest time in the world to market for listings, which is our specialty. In 30 years, I do seminars, hundreds, if not thousands of seminars all over the world. I open up with saying, if you want me to tell you how to work with a buyer, you got the wrong guy. There's a guy in Orange County that will teach you how to make 100 friends at Starbucks. That's not me. If you want to know how to get listings and sit on the beach in Maui and get paid, I'm your guy. We're your guy, not me. I have 50 some odd employees here that are just brilliant and that we've trained insanely well on how to work with you in your marketing. All right, let's move on to a different topic. All right, so let's move into some common questions that we get from our clients. I have 1,700 active clients right now, well over 3,000 or 4,000 in our history of 30 years. And one of the questions is, how do I know if my marketing is working? Well, the phone rings, which brings me to a whole nother point. I'll tell you a funny story. In my career, I was single most of my life. I was a single dad. I really didn't date. I was working my backside off building this company. But once I dated an agent, but we had to make her successful because everybody in town knew I was dating the agent. So if I couldn't make her successful, I certainly couldn't make you or anyone else successful. And we're driving down the freeway, and she gets a phone call, and it's unknown. And she goes, skip or hang up. And I about lost it. I had to pull over. I was so enraged because I was paying for marketing. I go, the only reason you're marketing is to get the unknown phone call. Unfortunately, it's a part of our business. Half of them are spam. The second you know it's spam, click, right? But you got to answer those. That's what we're trying to do, right? Pretty simple. So you'll know that the marketing is working when your phone rings. You start getting listings. And if you get around and be out and be visible in neighborhoods that we're marketing with you, people will tell you, hey, I love your market. I'm not ready to sell right now, but when I do, you're my guy or my gal, right? Pretty simple. The other thing we've just started introducing is what they call smart QR codes. So it's way over my head. I'm a senior. I have an AARP card, but a lot of people here at this company are 30 years and younger, and so they have this technology that they have worked with this company that creates these smart QR codes. And what it is it's on all of your marketing pieces, we can actually put a QR code. When the homeowner can say, find your home value. When the homeowner clicks on that QR code, you get sent an email with their name, address, any information we have. If we have the property values, everything that you can possibly imagine that we have on them. So every single QR code is unique to the homeowner. It is an insanely good way to track that people are looking and watching at it. I can't tell you how many agents have said to me, they'll do it for 5 months. One of my favorite clients is, I can't use his full name, but he's down in Point Loma, in San Diego. He markets for 4 months. His favorite's not working. 3 months later, he calls me. He goes, somebody just called me off that market report we sent and we stopped 3 months ago. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens. They keep them. He goes, all right, let's start again. He starts again. 4 months later, like, it's not working. He stops again. He calls me again and goes, I just got a new listing 2 months after, or 3 months after we stopped. Finally, I said, look, you're going to do your thing, but we're not your team because we're about consistency. I can't remember where I was going with that, but how many times our clients say, look, I've walked into a homeowner's home and I'll see every mailer I ever mailed to them. We actually had a client that the homeowner had 3 years worth of that agent's mailers sitting on the table. And the homeowner goes, look, I keep every single one of yours because it's good information. It's not Happy Halloween. That's not it. You're not the holiday specialist. If you want to brand yourself as a holiday specialist, send out Halloween, Easter, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever it is that you send them out. And then you're really branding yourself as the holiday expert versus the real estate expert. Now you can put, Happy New Year on a real estate marketing piece that is 99% real estate information. I sat and I had lunch with a client that I've known for 17 years yesterday, and she has a new partner. And she turned over the marketing to a new partner. And she calls me and goes, David, the phone has stopped ringing. I said, let's go have lunch. We sit down and look at it. The back of her piece is all about community gatherings, this community and that community information, a community. I said, so what have you branded yourself as? A community person. I said, yeah, not a real estate agent. You can have community information. And here was the worst part. It was on the back of her mailer, which most people don't understand. Here's one of the biggest mistakes people make in direct mail. And that is they think that the most important part, the fanciest, the sexiest part of any, let's use a postcard because it's simple, is the front. So they spend all this time, or pay somebody to spend all this time in making the front of it beautiful. Guess what? Your mail comes address up, not down. So the first thing they see is you and the lender and a bunch of text on the back, and they're like, it's garbage, and they throw it away. On the back of every single mailer we have, you must have something in color. And it should be real estate related, not community related. I'm going to completely revamp. They do about 1,250 pieces a month. I'm going to completely revamp their marketing. And this new marketing person was adamant with our designer. And so I went down and talked to Ryan this morning and said, she just won't, she's like a dog with a bone on it. I said, no more, because I had lunch with her yesterday. And her boss just said, do what David says. I guarantee you that the phone's going to start to ring. All right, let's move on to the next question. So the next question I get quite often is, how do I improve the results of my mailers? And I think getting involved in the community is a really, really great thing. One of the things I really love, I have an agent in a downtown market, and she literally sits at Starbucks right in the center of her market with her market report and does her emails in the morning. Is it there for an hour and a half? And I can't tell you how many people walk by and go, oh, you're Elizabeth. Oh, wow. I get your piece every month. Oh, that is really wonderful. I love it. It's great information. So, and there's a lot of things you can do. Angela and the gal that I just had lunch with yesterday and her partner, Neely, they did a shredding event. And of 1,250 homes, 30 people showed up, which is not a big number. But I said to them, I said, Angela, how many pieces did they shred? She goes, I don't know. It's like 1.5 million. On the next market report, thank you for all of that. You attended our shredding event, community, inside, right page, not the back cover. We shredded over 1.5 million pieces. She doesn't say anything about only 30 people showed up, but 1.5 million pieces sounds like an insane amount of money. So that's some of the things you do. If you door knock, walk with your market report. And you go to the homeowner and go, look at, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, we can give you all their names. Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I've been sending you this market report for the last 5 months. Is there anything you'd like to see improved or added to it? You're asking for help. It's almost impossible for somebody to say no when you ask them for help. Look, walk into Starbucks tomorrow and turn around the person behind you and say, can you help me? Look on the face. They're going to go, well, okay. It's a really hard thing to do. Anyway, another great tip for as far as getting involved in your community. Anything you can do that's positive. Here's one thing you don't do. Do not get on the board in a voting position. You get on the board in a volunteer position, because somebody will always shoot the messenger no matter how bad the message is, right? So you don't ever want to get on a board in a voting position. You want to be very neutral and stay out of the debate. Again, somebody will always shoot the messenger. All right, let's look at the next question. So this is a really common question, and it's how often should I be mailing to be the most effective? This is just flat out the truth. Remember the 8.4 contacts to Q-tip did, or Johnson & Johnson did to make Q-tip a cotton swab, or a cotton swab a Q-tip, and vice versa. Ideally, those 8.4 contacts would happen within 4.5 months. So you would mail every other month for 4.5 months, and then you would go to monthly. You've established the brand. I know a lot of companies out there that go, oh, mail every other month. The guy in Orange County, mail every other week for eternity. It's a waste of money. The ones in between, because you've already established you as the go-to person. So it's just a waste of money, and it's just a source of income for them, and that's the only reason they're doing it, or they just don't know what the heck they're doing, which is, it's probably a little bit of both. But anyway, ideal amount of mail. Now, if it doesn't fit into your budget, you could go monthly. It'll just take a little bit longer. But if you want the quickest results, 8.4 contacts in 4.5 months is the way to go. All right, last question. All right, so the last question we have is, how do I stand out in a listing appointment? Or, once I get it, once I'm there. Here's in my 30 years, I cannot tell you hundreds of times, an agent will call me and say, hey, I've got a listing appointment on Thursday. I go, yeah, it's Tuesday. Can you send me some marketing materials that I can take into my appointment? I'm like, not going to happen in 2 days. I mean, it's going to take me 2 days. We're going to have to design it. You're going to go back and forth. We've got to proof the text. By the way, we have 3 professional proofreaders that read everything you approved just to make sure we're right, so you don't look bad. We have listing packages that I think are really important. And really what they are is, as you see the samples up behind me, they're market reports, they're postcards, and they're property brochures. And so when you walk in, you say, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, this is what I do for marketing your property. All of you that have had an expired listing, tell me this is not true. When it was all said and done and the listing expired and you lost it, better yet, you went on an appointment where someone else lost the listing. Tell me the homeowner didn't say the marketing was no good. All homeowners think it's all about the marketing. Talk about show your marketing materials. The problem is you have to pre-order them. And it's, I don't know, I'm looking at Rachel here who helps me do all these podcasts and is a brilliant designer in her own right. I think we're under $500 for the whole package. And then Rachel's saying, yes, that's true. So you got to be prepared, but you don't want to wait. You got to have the cart before the horse. So if you're now on the horse and you've got no cart, it's going to be a real tough race. Anyway, this is the last section of this particular podcast. Hopefully we'll see you again in the next one. It's been a pleasure. And remember, social media in and of itself doesn't work. If you want to drive people to social media, you got to start with the print. And again, 880 million homeowners last month received a market report. Those 1,700 agents are not wrong. Love to work with you. Give us a call at any time. Thank you much. If you're in the real estate business, you know marketing is a crucial part of your success. But with so many misconceptions and questions out there, it can be hard to know where to focus your efforts. This is the final episode of Real Marketing University podcast. I'll be discussing some of the most common misconceptions and questions in real estate marketing and tips on how to address them. If you want to dominate your local market, relying solely on digital marketing is simply not enough. Instead, leverage direct mail to target your neighborhood. Then send them back to your website and social pages to validate your expertise and build credibility. Direct mail isn't dead if you know how to do it right. And the key here is consistency and putting out quality content. In fact, the post office rally now mails more pieces than they did 10 years ago. You've gained market share, but that shouldn't be the end of your marketing. Capturing market share is just the beginning. Continued client engagement is key to build your sphere of influence. The quality of photography should not be neglected even in the hottest of markets, as it is also a signal to potential sellers that you are attentive to detail and take pride in your work. A slowing market shouldn't lead to a halt in your marketing efforts. In fact, with limited inventory in the housing market, you may receive surprisingly generous offers for your property. As mentioned before, it is crucial to stay in front of your clients and potential prospects if you want to establish yourself as the neighborhood expert and build your sphere of influence. And finally, one of the biggest mistakes I see is agents who don't prepare and have their marketing materials ordered and purchased ahead of time. Don't show up at your next listing appointment with poorly made brochures from an office copier. Stand out and set a good impression with quality prints that are well designed, proofread, and printed ahead of your next appointment. Be prepared. So as we wrap up this podcast, I want to express my sincere gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in to our episodes. You've made this journey so much more rewarding and fulfilling for me. And while this may be the end of Real Marketing University podcast for this series, it's not the end of our mission to help you succeed in real estate marketing. We'll continue to share insights, tips, and resources on our website and social media channels, so make sure to follow us on them. Once again, thank you for being a part of our Real Marketing University community.
This has been another episode of the Real Marketing University podcast, bringing you the new real estate success stories each and every month. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're interested in learning more about real marketing, please visit realmarketingforyou.com. That's Real Marketing, the number 4, you.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We look forward to helping you on your journey and becoming the local neighborhood expert. Thanks for listening.